E la cintura?
Non ce l'ho.
È un grosso rischio. Ricordati sempre di allacciare la cintura di sicurezza e falla allacciare anche a chi sta dietro. Guidare non è uno scherzo. Va bene?
The Costantino Esposito show is sold out. His words illuminate this year's event. The Risk of Education in Arabic, an open dialogue with the Islamic world. The president of Fiat visited the pavilions this afternoon, wishing to meet the people of the Rimini meeting. From the White Horse to the meeting about Chesterton, loving reality, defending reason. A true welcome to immigrants, a phenomenon that has to deal with the rights and duties of individuals.
I think that a man living in 2011, just like those of past and future years to come, has the opportunity to be certain, provided that he doesn't consider it as the result of his own strategy or the product of his own cultural scheme. Certainty is being sure that we were born because someone wanted to give us life, as it happens looking at our mother's gaze. When does that existence become an immense certainty? Every time we claim that we can produce certainty, the result is a limited certainty with an expiration date. The immense certainty is a paradox that only Christianity was able to introduce us to.
In the last century, science has also hesitated to talk about certainty. Why?
The true scientists go closer and closer and attempt to find this certainty, but they hardly ever claim to identify their approximations with the profound ontological structure of reality. But paradoxically, that means that certainty cannot be considered as a frozen and mechanical thing that you gain once and for all. Because certainty is a historical process, as I'll try to explain in my speech. It's not an absolute, but an event that keeps on happening.
Is it a full experience or a goal that you desire but don't completely experience?
A certainty that coincides with existence is always only desirable. If you think carefully about it, the title of the meeting says that it is existence itself that becomes certainty. Not only that you can have some certainties, big or small, but it becomes certainty itself. And the fact that it becomes immense means that it can only be a goal. Yet, we can think about this goal as a beginning, maybe minuscule, but certain. Certain because we started to experience a certainty as a gift of reality that calls us and reaches us.
The risk of education in Arabic. It's a challenge, opening up a comparison that started in 2006 with the translation of The Religious Sense by Father Giussani. The editor of the new publication is Abdel Fattah Hassan, a member of the Egyptian parliament, who belongs to the movement of the Muslim Brotherhood and teaches Italian literature at Cairo University. The translation of The Risk of Education started last year at the Cairo University. He participated in this event thanks to his friendship with Wael Farouk, professor at the American University in Cairo. He felt a profound correspondence with the text of Giussani that pushed him to propose translating it himself because the needs of the hearts of people of different cultures, languages and races are the same. The talk was introduced by Father Ambrogio Pisoni, who followed the translation closely. You edited the translation of The Risk of Education into Arabic. What impressed you the most about this work?
Referring to the heart, I was struck by the way we can judge reality. Giussani says that we can always begin with our heart. We may differ in many aspects as human beings, but the heart is something we have in common. This concept is also significant in our Muslim religion. So I think that Father Giussani addresses not only Catholics and Italians, but rather all of humanity.
Did the Cairo meeting give you more certainty about the possibility of a dialogue?
You can't even imagine how the meeting managed to unify Muslims and Christians. I have been experiencing, and I still experience, this earthly paradise in which it is possible for people of different cultures, languages and religions to live respecting each other.
A smiling John Elkin, president of Fiat, comes for the first time to the Rimini meeting. Curious and in awe, he goes around the fair pavilions. Someone even sells him a lottery ticket. He visits the exhibit on the 150 years of subsidiarity, and then he takes part in a conversation with some university students that ask to talk with him. And tomorrow it will be his turn to answer the question, what is certain in an uncertain world?
Is it your first time at the Rimini meeting?
Yes.
What is your first impression?
I'm enthusiastic. It's very nice to be a part of it.
Later, you will meet with university students. What are you going to tell them?
I will listen to them and share my thoughts, and since we have more or less the same age, there's a lot to share.
One-third of the 2 million soldiers that left for Iraq and Afghanistan come back with serious brain damage and mental disabilities. And the drama of the American soldier comes to the Rimini meeting through the words of Guido Piccarolo. He studied economics at the Catholic University of Milan and then journeyed to America to work at the Walt Disney Company.
At Walt Disney, I worked as a financial analyst for the production of television cartoons. I worked on Winnie the Pooh and Chicken Little stories.
The adventure of the founder of the Los Angeles Habilitation House, an association that helps disabled veterans to find a job, began quite by chance.
They are young boys that are at the beginning of their working experience and that have never worked before meeting us. They spent most of their time at home, and now we offer them the opportunity to work. We have 3 contracts in the cleaning sector, and now we are starting a new program for veterans. Yesterday, 6 boys started working, and this is a great event.
Is there a story of a boy that moved you particularly?
The first veteran we hired found himself homeless and unemployed once back from the war. Starting again meant a lot to him since he found a new hope for his life. After 2 months at work, he came to our office and told us thank you, because through this job opportunity you offered me, I rediscovered the talents I thought I had lost. After a month, he went back to school.
Yesterday, the show of the Ballad of the White Horse moved everybody, confirming Chesterton once again as a protagonist of the Rimini meeting. A simple and endless story that makes you think because it represents people fighting for a certainty that support life. This morning there was another exploration of the thought of the English writer during a talk entitled Loving Reality, Defending Reason, Looking at the World Through Chesterton's Eyes, with the presence of the journalist Ubaldo Casotto, Professor Alison Milbank of the University of Nottingham, and Professor and Translator of English Literature Edoardo Rialti.
Great authors are never only contemporary, but are timeless. Chesterton is an extraordinarily important figure in the middle of the 20th century.
Dante said that he did not seem a silent image. In the first terrace of the Purgatory, Dante encounters a sculpture that is so realistic that it seems alive. The title of the exhibit on the art in the age of this great poet was inspired by this passage.
At the beginning, we were amazed by the beauty of the works of art that are typical of the medieval period between the 13th and 14th centuries, and by the fact that these works of art depict reality in a new way.
The path of the exhibition travels through the works of the best artists of the 13th and 14th centuries, Nicola and Giovanni Pisano, Arnolfo di Cambio, and Giotto. The lines of the Divine Comedy accompany this particular reading of Italian Gothic art. Why did you bring this exhibit to the meeting? What is the link between the exhibit and the title of the meeting, and the existence becomes an immense certainty?
Existence is what these artists depict in a new way.
From Rossini to Puccini,
from Donizetti to Verdi, this is an evening dedicated to the most famous Italian arias. Tonight, the soprano Silvia Dalla Benedetta, the tenor Gianluca Pasolini, and the baritone Luca Salsi performed on a meeting stage accompanied by the orchestra of the Teatro Regio of Parma. The musical proposal comes from Luigi Giussani's memory of when he was at school and he heard Tito Schipa striking up the aria Spirito Gentil from the Favorita by Donizetti for the first time. In that moment, he said, the existence of God became evident and charged with meaning. An entire pavilion dedicated to the young. Only those who are less than 12 can enter. It's a place where children can experience the meeting in a way specifically made for them. There are many beautiful things they can do. They can visit exhibitions, play games, do crafts, see shows, and enjoy many other things. Don't be taken in by appearances. You won't find a team of babysitters, but a real meeting in miniature. How does the game work?
I try to catch things.
What's your favorite game in the fair?
For me, it is this one.
Is it fun?
Yes.
With the children's bookshop, craft workshop and interactive exhibition like the one this year, which is dedicated to scientific education and presented by an exceptional teacher, the astrophysicist Paola Platania. I stopped the disc, and what's on the disc?
It's a rainbow.
The 7 colors of the rainbow. So here, you don't just have fun, but you grow up. What are you doing?
I'm cooking food.
I'd like to ask you about natural law. The idea of natural law is highly debated. Could you tell us what you mean by it?
Yes, I mean the body of practical principles, including moral norms that provide our most fundamental reasons for action and for restraint. These are the principles on which we act really every day in picking out intelligible purposes, things that it makes sense to do, to have or be a friend, to pursue an education, to learn to develop a skill or to appreciate a form of art or poetry or music. These are the fundamental principles of natural law, and from their integral directiveness, that is, taking them as a whole, we infer a set of moral norms, like the basic principle that you should do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or don't hit your sister, or don't kill people, don't steal, and so forth. So that's what we mean by natural law.
Does the pluralism of today's society negate the idea of natural law?
No, it's quite the opposite. The pluralism of contemporary society gives us very good reasons to try to relate to each other and to debate questions on which we disagree on the plane of reason, what the philosopher John Rawls calls our common human reason. And what natural law is moral knowledge that we can attain without necessarily having the benefit of revelation or religious authority. It's not to deny that there can be revelation or legitimate religious authority, but it's to affirm that even apart from revelation and religious authority, we can understand certain truths about how we ought to behave and how we ought not to behave, and that we can debate those, we can understand those simply by the exercise of something we all have in common, whether we're Muslims or Christians, Jews or Buddhists, unbelievers or believers, and that is our reason. Natural law is about what natural reason can understand. It's about what reason, unaided by supernatural information, can understand.
The theme of the meeting this year is certainty. However, our society seems full of uncertainties. How does natural law fit into this?
Well, there are some things that we all seem to be certain about, and then there are other things that we're uncertain about, and then there are lots of things that we just disagree about. We don't need certainty in the sense of having our views never subjected to questioning or having a situation where we would never question our views ourselves. What we need is confidence, and what we need is hope. We need faith. We need to be able to believe that there are good reasons for us to treat each other with respect and dignity, not to treat each other as mere objects or instruments or means to ends. There are good reasons for treating people with dignity, good reasons for treating people with as ends in themselves and not as means only. And we can have confidence in those truths, even though it's possible to subject those propositions to questioning. We can never say we're absolutely certain about them in the sense that we would shut down any debate about them, but we can have hope, we can have confidence that it really does make sense to treat each other with respect and dignity.
If a reader were to ask you to summarize your book in a few sentences, what would you say?
I would say it's a book about the power of reason to attain some knowledge, not complete knowledge, but some knowledge, some substantial knowledge about truths we can live by. That's really what the book is about. It's an effort to understand what the basic values that inform our lives are, what it makes sense to want, what it makes sense to do, and how norms can be, norms of behavior, norms of conduct can be derived from our knowledge of what is truly, in the end, worthwhile.
E la cintura?
Non ce l'ho.
È un grosso rischio. Ricordati sempre di allacciare la cintura di sicurezza e falla allacciare anche a chi sta dietro. Guidare non è uno scherzo. Va bene?